Good morning. My name is Brian Carmichael, and I'm honored to be your MC for this service to celebrate and remember Brian Woznikoski and his amazing life. To begin, we acknowledge that we gather here on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Katsi, Kwantlen, and Semiahmoo nations. Please, everyone, take a moment. Make sure your cell phones are off and devices. The family would like to acknowledge special guests and dignitaries that are here today. My thoughts are with Brian's family, his wife Rhonda, Chad, Joel, their wives, and their granddaughter Mika. Please join me in supporting them and remembering him. A great father, friend, and colleague, Brian left us way too early as a result of the hazards of the job. Sadly, he also joins the loved ones whose lives were also shortened. Measures to improve the safety of our members will hopefully keep the men and women of this next generation safer. I'd like to invite Chad and Joel to the podium in remembrance of their dad.
Thank you very much, Uncle Bry. Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chad. This is my brother Joel, and we stand here today honored to speak about our amazing father, Brian. Firstly, Rhonda, Joel, and I would like to take a moment to thank all of you for attending today and recognize those of you who have traveled from out of town. We want to express our sincere appreciation for the efforts of everyone who helped arrange this celebration of life. Local 1271, the Surrey Fire Service, and the Surrey Arts Centre have truly gone above and beyond.
As kids, we were regularly told by others how proud Dad was of us, and it was apparent in his actions how much he loved us both. Standing here today, it's a humbling experience as we try to express how proud we are to call him our father and express what he means to us. Since his passing, we've heard from so many people from every chapter of his life how much he meant to them. We recognize that today has a large focus on the fire department, but we also want to acknowledge how many people outside the fire service have also made such a significant impact on Dad's life.
Joel and I hope to share a few memories that we have of our dad and hopefully bring some smiles to everyone's faces, because that was always one of Dad's wishes. Although there will be sadness and I'm sure some tears, today's event, we hope to focus on the positives and celebrate a life well lived. In Dad's final days, his request was that we, following his passing, that we make sure to enjoy our summer, have some fun, spend time making some more great memories with one another. And today will undoubtedly leave us with many more special memories.
Dad was born in Burnaby in 1961 to Wayne and Kathy Woznikoski. Both of his parents had come from Saskatchewan and started a family with their daughter Terry, who regrettably passed away in 2020. Dad came along next, and about 9 years later, his younger brother Craig was born. As many of you know, Dad was always passionate about hockey, and that started at a young age. Dad grew up playing with Surrey minor hockey, then went on to play Junior A for the Delta Suns, and then Junior B for the Surrey Saints as he pursued his passion of firefighting. He continued on playing senior men's hockey along with Surrey Firefighters teams competing in several World Police and Fire Games. In 1985, Dad married our mom Carol, and several years later, we were both born. Together, they renovated and built beautiful homes with, of course, the help of so many skilled firefighters. We were fortunate to have two great parents who worked very hard to provide us a life filled with great memories, amazing experiences, and strong relationships.
Now, talking about Dad goes hand in hand with talking about Club Woz. This special club was in Osoyoos, where Nana and Papa had their vacation property since the early 70s. Dad grew up spending a significant amount of time there, and as a family, we were very fortunate to have this place. As Uncle Bry would like to say, Osoyoos was a place that could make you super thirsty. And Papa Woz often would start his day using his memorable line, "I didn't sleep at all last night," despite the fact that he was one of the loudest snorers I've ever met. Sunshine and water sports were two of Dad's favorite things, and for us, just like hockey, these became our favorites as well. We have countless hours of video footage of great slalom skiing, barefooting, and of course the wipeouts. Each time we would go, Dad would offer us the chance to earn a DQ dipped cone if we could get up on the first try. And that extra bit of pressure always felt very real. But I think in reality, he just wanted a dipped cone. In 1992, Papa and Dad purchased a new Malibu tournament ski boat. And that basically became the third Woznikoski child. We religiously cleaned that thing. We polished it and buffed it after every use. But we got pretty good at swimming and wakeboarding and skiing as well. And as any skier knows, there's a constant search for that perfect water. And despite being on vacation, Dad was often waking us at 5 a.m. for us to spot him while he went out to ski and Mom drove the boat. As we got older, we were the ones waking him up to drive, but he was always happy to do it. Club Woz became a place for our family to meet no matter how busy life got. We brought many friends along and made many memories. Today, I know that there's a lot of our closest friends seated here in the auditorium, and that's because they got to know Dad as well. They got to experience his love for life, and he welcomed them into our family home with open arms.
Growing up in a firefighter's house, it seemed as though it was a requirement to wear your issued t-shirt and shorts off duty because Dad proudly wore them every chance he got. He wore number 143 constantly, and somehow our childhood home even started with 143. His passion for the job was because of the amazing people he worked with. And from our entire family, we'd like to take a moment to thank you all for making his career and the Woznikoski family always feel so special in this community. The fire service was truly like a second family to Dad, and seeing so many faces sitting here today brings back countless memories from our childhood where we spent time with amazing people and their families we grew so close to. With him, we attended charity events, barbecues, visits to the hall, and spent time at the hockey rink watching Dad play. A babysitter wasn't always an option, so the penalty box served as a great place to contain a couple kids. After we got hit in the head with a stray puck, helmets became mandatory. But we were happy just to be there in the action and loved getting to spend time with the guys. Away from work, Dad volunteered his time as a hockey coach, first with Surrey and later Semiahmoo minor hockey. He spent hours planning practices and building strong teams. Although Dad was very competitive, there was always a life lesson that could be shared because win or lose, it was about being a good person and doing the right thing.
As many of you may know, there's always been a pace with Dad that's been hard to match. We call it the Woznikoski work ethic. The simple philosophy is, you can take a break when the work's done. I'm sure there's many of his crews that would have preferred a break from time to time. And as kids, we did too. But on a daily basis, Dad displayed that work ethic in all aspects of his life. He dedicated himself to balancing his role as a father, a husband, a hockey coach, a firefighter, a friend, and he excelled in each of those. He took pride in maintaining a beautiful home and made sure that he had the greenest grass in the neighborhood. He instilled a drive in Joel and I to always do our best, no matter what adversity we faced. But he also knew when to provide us with a gentler approach if we needed it. As kids playing hockey, if we got injured during a game, I remember him saying regularly, "You're no good lying on the ice." And we were often encouraged to walk it off. But on the car ride home, he balanced this toughness by showing us the compassion and praise we needed. This toughness may have come as the result of the pain that he suffered for some of his life. Some of you may not know this, but Dad suffered from severe back pain in the 90s that nearly ended his firefighting career. But he constantly worked to recover and return to the job he loved. One thing that will forever remind me of Dad is him standing almost anywhere with his foot raised in the air, stretching out his hamstrings. He was not going to let a little bit of back pain slow him down. He was too busy living life, and he would stretch on the go. In 2014, Dad began dating Rhonda after they met as neighbors just a few doors apart. They connected quickly and became nearly inseparable ever since their first date. They built a life filled with excitement, and their friendship enriched each other's lives, and it seemed like they were always on the exact same page. It truly was remarkable how two people could share such a deep bond, even down to noticing the tiniest specks of dirt all around them. Dad would sometimes drive Rhonda a little crazy, but it was all part of their beautiful dynamic. Their passion for exploring the world and making the most of every day was truly inspiring. Together, they embarked on an African safari where they encountered countless animals and met extraordinary people. On their way to Africa, they made sure to reconnect with longtime friend Petra in Amsterdam, who Dad had met years earlier at the World Police and Fire Games. They traveled to Southeast Asia, where they savored local cuisines, and not surprisingly, somehow, they got invited to a Cambodian wedding reception. Together, they purchased a cottage at Cultus Lake, where they made new friendships and created countless lasting memories, including those on the pickleball court.
In 2021, Dad began experiencing unique symptoms that led to his eventual diagnosis of glioblastoma, brain cancer. We previously talked about Dad's drive and his toughness, but we also heard Dad's words of wisdom. For Dad, no matter the situation or the adversity faced, his guiding principle was to take the high road, even when it was the more challenging path. He firmly believed that this choice would ultimately lead to a better destination. This unwavering mindset remained with him even as he bravely battled cancer with a positive attitude and courage. During the last 3.5 years, he battled resiliently, and because of this, we were able to go on family vacations to Whistler and Mexico. He and Rhonda traveled with friends through the Rockies and to Soyuz. He celebrated holidays with us and led dance parties with his granddaughter Mika. He read books, built sandcastles, and showered her with love, just as he did all of us. He reconnected with family and friends he hadn't seen in years and attended Canucks games whenever he could muster up the strength. His resilience was powered by the strength that Rhonda demonstrated throughout this battle. Every doctor's appointment, specialist visit, or side effect that Dad lived through, Rhonda was there beside him to provide love and care. She saw Dad on his lowest days when he could barely get out of bed, but through her love, helped him to rally and fight for every extra moment. Rhonda deserves an immense amount of credit for her positivity and for being a rock through this challenging time. Chad and I are so truly grateful to have her in our lives, knowing how amazing a person she is, how much she meant to Dad, and continues to mean to our entire family.
During the last 3.5 years, Dad constantly remarked about how fortunate he was to receive such great care, be surrounded by so much love, and was always thankful for every day he got to spend with those around him. For all of us, there have been times where we've struggled to share his same sentiment, thinking instead how unfair it was that he was having his life cut short. But Dad was teaching us another valuable lesson about gratitude. Looking back at the last 3 years, we were very fortunate to have that time together. We were able to tell Dad exactly what he meant to us, and there was nothing left unsaid. We shared travel stories that included the endless search for the world's best carne asada burrito and the most refreshing margaritas. We got to cheer through another exciting season of playoff hockey. We visited Seattle to take in a Kraken and a Seahawks game. We reminisced about car rides up to Osoyoos, where Sawyer Brown, the Bare Naked Ladies, and Bryan Adams would play on repeat. And we shared stories of the many hours spent behind the boat. We talked about nights up at Club Woz on the patio with fresh veggies from Nana and Papa Woz's garden, followed by music, singing, socializing with neighbors and friends. With Dad by our side, we got to look through photo albums of family vacations and time spent skiing at Mount Seymour with many close friends. And we got to thank him for all of those times that he had traveled to visit us, whether it be in Calgary or Montreal, while we pursued our aspirations. We recalled the special times that we had spent with Aunt Jackie over the years, and we got the pleasure of putting Dad behind the wheel, despite doctor's orders, one last time, just days before his passing, while we went to visit Nana Woz.
This list of memories is only a glimpse into the life Dad lived, and is only from the perspective of Chad and I. But we know there are so many stories like this. Hopefully, the stories shared by his close friends and the video we have prepared will bring some smiles to each of your faces and showcase how meaningful of a person he was to others as well. Despite the fact he was only 63 when he passed, Dad lived a very, very full life. Today is meant as an opportunity to remember a great life that he lived and to celebrate the amazing person he was. As we wrap up our thoughts about Dad, we wanted to share the meaning behind the quote on the program. This was something that Rhonda found on Dad's extremely organized computer after he passed away, like it was meant to be there. We all found it very meaningful and a perfect gesture of how he was always thinking about us. We would ask if you have a memory to share, please take a moment to write something in the guest book or use the QR code on the program to share these stories with our family that we can treasure. Although we miss him beyond words, his actions, the way he conducted himself, and the way he lived life was with love, passion, and energy. We were two very lucky kids to have such an amazing role model and father to look up to.
We want to thank you all again for coming today. We look forward to hearing those stories that you have of our dad. And again, thank you all.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Well, they did a great job. I had no doubt they would. At this time, I'd like to invite Nigel LeBerry, Woz's good friend, to the stage.
I guess I have to start off by saying, how do I follow Chad and Joel? I've known Brian for over 45 years. We went to QE, senior secondary. And I will give you a little backstory. I grew up in the Caribbean, a little island Trinidad. My parents sent me to Vancouver to go to school. Ended up at Surrey, went to QE, and I was kind of a shy guy until I met Brian and some of his friends. I never knew that Canadians were so warm and kind until I came to Surrey. When I came to Surrey, I was staying with my mom's brother, and they decided to move to Vancouver, and I was going to change school districts. Brian approached me and said, "Hey, would you like to come and live with us?" I was like, "Are you sure you want me in your home? I think your parents are going to understand me?" So we said, "Yes, come and do an interview with Mom and Dad." So I went over, and Kathy and Wayne met me, and I asked Brian, "What are we having for dinner?" He said, "Steaks. His dad loved to cook steaks on the barbie." So we had steaks, we had dinner, and they got to meet me. The next day at school, Brian says, "I think you passed the test." I says, "That's good." So I had to approach my uncle and tell him and say, "Hey, look, I'm staying in Surrey. I'm not going to Vancouver." Anyway, I moved in with Brian, and over the time I lived with him, he didn't treat me as a guest. He treated me like a brother. He had me cutting the lawn. His dad was like, "That lawn has to be cut. Brian, get out there." Well, I mean, I had to do my share. So we got out there and we cut the lawn. But to try to dig deep into what Brian was as a person is extremely difficult for me, because I have a special memories about QE, about Brian. We endured our relationship through FaceTime, phone calls, Christmas cards, and I pursue a career in law enforcement. I was a policeman. I just retired this year. And Brian says, "Well, I'm going to the fire service." And I said, "Well, okay, we both are in public service occupations. We will swap stories about what each of our professions was like." But I want to come back to a quick story, some quick stories about QE. Canadians, they love to party. They love to party. And it seemed as though every Friday and Saturday we had festivities, so to speak, to go to. And Brian would say, "Hey, come on, you gotta put back a couple with us." He said, "I'm not sure if I should be drinking." And Brian says, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. We got your back." But we had a good time at QE. We had a lot of good times. Some of the best times, I think, was when he first took me skiing. He said, "Have you ever been skiing before?" I'm coming from a tropical island. Snow, skiing. So we went up to Whistler, I think it was, and I had jeans on. I didn't have the proper gear. And he took me, get some skis, tried them on, and stuff. I said, "Brian, I don't know if I could do this." He said, "Yeah, you could do it. Don't worry about it. We'll teach you." So we went up there. And instead of taking me on the bunny hill, straight to the blue, so we got to the chairlift, and I'm like shaking a little bit, and he says, just put your butt out and just sit back. The chair will come and take you up." Okay, all right. Did all what he instructed me to do. Got up to the top. What do you think happens? Crash. They got me up, got me going down the hill, and they said, they started to give the ski instructions, what you need to do on the skis. Well, after a few face plants, I said, Brian, I'll see you guys back to the lodge. I'm going to have a few cocktails there. That's one of my experiences. As Chad and Joel said, he was a great hockey player. So he decided he wanted to show me how to ice skate. It was the same. I got those skates on. Few face plants after. He said, come out and try again. I tried again. Just didn't work. I didn't have the rhythm like those guys. And he is swishing around and, the ice is just, coming up on me, and it's like, Brian, I can't do all those skills, okay? Let me just sit down. So I went and I sat down. But he wanted so much to introduce me to his life, what things that he'd done. And when it was time to leave Canada, I had some regrets. I didn't want to leave. But I told myself that I would keep in touch with Brian because he was a special person. He wasn't just only a friend, he was like a brother, like I said. He meant a lot to me. I will miss him. I loved him a lot. I got to meet both Brian and Carol, and Brian and Rhonda, and they were both special people. I hope that my enduring friendship that I had with Brian, I can also have that with Chad and Joel, because they will be always remembered in my life. So thank you, Chad and Joel, for inviting me today. I really appreciate it.
Not only am I the MC here, the family has asked me to share our history and a few stories. 1980, Brian and I met at Surrey Fire Hall number 4. We were 19. Hired us as volunteers. Over 2 years, Brian and I did coursework, attended practice, volunteered at community events in our hometown of Surrey. When our pagers went off for volunteer duty, we would race to the fire hall. I from my parents' house in the Guildford area. Was from his parents' house on the north side. Not too fast, because safety never takes a vacation. But fast enough to get those limited seats on the hose pump. Hired as professional firefighters in 1982. 16 bright and shiny new faces were hired for the city. Badged 127 to 144. Was 143. To celebrate before training, our first road trip together, we hopped into my Volkswagen van, headed for Southern California. We made the trip in 26 hours straight, being too thrifties for motels. Aunt Jackie had a beautiful home on a golf course. In those days, we didn't golf. At 21, we were barely old enough to buy a beer. Woz had a plan because something else special in 1982 happened. The Vancouver Canucks made the Stanley Cup final. Woz loved hockey, and he was a talented player. So determined to watch his team. We checked out a few establishments to watch the games. However, no luck. There was no interest in hockey in Southern California in 1982. Finally, after many bars and beers, one bartender suggests we go downtown Palm Springs, check out a bar named The Hair of the Dog. I'm sure a few of you people may have been to that establishment. It was dark, dingy, a real dive. Woz started up a conversation with the barkeep. Before we knew it, the game was on. Yay! However, no volume. This was not good enough. With determination and Woz's great charm, we got volume and he was happy. Unfortunately, the Canucks lost 4 straight to the Islanders. That sucked. Anyhow, it didn't deter Woz. He was a Canuck fan till the end. Brian's career. I know there's a lot of career people here today, and that's just beautiful. And I know he would really appreciate you being here, taking the time. Throughout his career as a firefighter, a lieutenant, captain, training officer, and finally an assistant chief. He taught CPR, auto extrication, and hazmat. A model firefighter. His uniform crisp and pressed, his boots always polished. Well-groomed. He enjoyed reminding me about his beautiful hair. Even in the past few years, we'd be walking in White Rock, and he'd look at me and say, I gotta go to Sam's and get my hair cut. Do you know it costs more than $20 for a haircut? Like I'd know. Woz took the job seriously. As a firefighter, he learned, practiced, and mastered the skills of the job. A competitor, pushing for high standards. He always impressed. As firefighters, we were transferred to Fire Hall 6 for 1 year. Unbelievable. Woz was getting paid to hang out with his best buddy. What were they thinking? I had to step up my game. I had to be better. I was working with Brian Woznikoski. It was a great year. He loved the job, learning, teaching, improving. Woz never stopped. Ask him to do something, and it was done. Woz would never ask anyone to do something he wouldn't do for himself. He took time for others. He'd look you in the eye and he'd listen. He was proud of his career right up to his last moments. When it was time for his final goodbye, he left this world wearing his uniform. Firefighters knew us as Woz and Hoagie. We grew together as family. He became an uncle to my 3 children. And I to Chad and Joel. Birthdays, holidays, vacations, raising our families together. It was a great time. Over the years, we became best friends, sharing our lives together. Good times, fun times, and yes, tough times too. Always available, a phone call away. I knew he had my back. Woz took time to say things I needed to hear. Sharing his wisdom, keeping me on the high road. That's where he lived his life. Many of you saw us as the odd couple. One of us loud and boisterous, the other calm, cool, collected. I can't tell you why our friendship worked. It just did. He was special. A once-in-a-lifetime friendship. Lucky me. Brian Woznikoski's life enriched mine. He completed me in our journey together. I'm a better man today, having known you, Woz. Couple of stories. I got a few. After the tragedy, 9/11, In New York, with many others here today, we traveled to New York to honor the fallen firefighters, an important trip of great significance to attend some of the services of those who had died. Representing firefighters, we were appreciated and saw much of the city which was trying to recover. At the late night show with David Letterman, in front of us, Glenn Sather, the GM of the New York Rangers. The show hasn't started yet, so Woz starts talking hockey to Glenn Sather. The next thing you know, Sather pulls out his business card and says, "Come to my office tomorrow afternoon." We went, of course. Got a VIP escort right into his office. I can see Woz is happy, talking hockey with Glenn, surrounded by super cool hockey memorabilia. Suddenly I hear, "I would like to give you some tickets for tomorrow night's game. How many in your group?" Woz says, "Quite a few." Glenn Sather opens the drawer in his big fancy desk. He pulls out a stack of 50 tickets. I thought Woz's eyes were going to pop right out of his head. Woz took 49 of his best friends to the game. Where the New York Rangers honored all the firefighters in attendance. We received a standing ovation. That is a night I will never forget. In retirement, Woz had things to do, places to go. And as usual, he had plans. He's a pretty damn good planner, I'll tell you. Anyhow, with Rhonda at his side, off they went. They were always busy. If I wanted to see him, it was like I needed to book an appointment. We made time. Loretta and I were blessed to spend time with Brian and Rhonda in retirement. Good eating and the occasional margarita or glass of wine. Woz got super fit. And for those of you who don't know it, well, Rhonda, she could be a professional walker. The girl can walk and talk. The four of us vacationed in Palm Springs. Woz would take us hiking. He would stretch his hamstrings, and off we'd go. Woz and Rhonda were like two thoroughbreds. Compared to Loretta and I, an old Clydesdale with spare replacement parts. Woz would say, "See you at the top." I know he really enjoyed leaving us in his dust. They say do what you're good at. Well, I'm pretty good on a chaise lounge, poolside with a frosty cold beverage. All joking aside, Woz could hold his own poolside, and he loved the sun. Rhonda, I knew something had changed in Brian's life after he met you. He was happier, he had a purpose, and he knew you were the one for him. He shared those feelings with me, and to this day, I know you were the love of his life. From the day Brian told me something was wrong, you were there every step of the way. You didn't take a day off. You couldn't, he needed you, and you were there. Your love, support, guidance, and your unbelievable kindness. I know you miss him. I miss him too. Woz never lost his sense of humor. Just over a year ago, August, we were sitting at White Rock Beach enjoying happy hour. He looks over to me and says, "Watch this." took his hat off, and in about 1 second, Rhonda says, "You should put your hat back on." Oh, he did, right away. Our girls went back to talking, and he looked at me with a devilish grin on his face, and he says, "I've got bigger problems than a little too much sun." He loved to tease you, Rhonda. A quick short story, one more before I get the hook. Our last road trip together, more than 40 years after our first, a Rocky Mountain adventure. Blue River, Jasper, Banff, Golden, Revelstoke, and Osoyoos. Brian and Rhonda, Glenn and Cindy, Loretta and I. Brian was excited and happy to be heading on a road trip. We all were. Enjoying the great scenery and full days. He never missed a beat, witnessing the wildlife, deer, elk, black bear, and grizzlies. Woz was right into it. Day after day, adventure after adventure. Like there was nothing wrong. He made the best of every day, and he made every day of that trip greater for us. Friendship. Take the time to be a good friend. Be present, make an effort. You never know when your friend is leaving. Thank you. We're going to start a video tribute here in just a moment. And it's a few minutes, so the boys made it. I'm looking forward to it.
Hope when you take that jump, you don't feel the fall. Hope when the water rises, you build a wall. Hope when the crowd screams out, you're screaming your name. Hope if everybody runs, you choose to stay. Hope that you fall in love and it hurts so bad. Hey, the only way you can know, you give it all you had. And I hope that you don't suffer, but take the pain. Hope when the moment comes, you'll say,
He's just a great, he does everything around here. Without him, we wouldn't have any fun at all because he does everything. He orders the food, he cooks the dinner, he makes us happy, he wakes up in the morning, he drives his boat, he takes his water ski, and then he brings on the rain. So we gotta cool him down with ice.
And if there's someone you can't live without, do so. And if there's someone you can just shove out, we'll do so. You can be my Yoko Ono. You can follow me wherever I go. Be my Yoko Ono. Oh, oh. isn't it beautiful to see two people so much in love?
Merry Christmas to by the fire, the face of the rain, the plans that we made. One more time. Walking in a winter
Well, I pulled out of Pittsburgh, rolling down the eastern seaboard. I've got my diesel wound up and she's running like never before. There's a speed zone ahead, but alright, I don't see a cop inside. 6 days on the road and I'm gonna make it home tonight. I got 10 forward gears and a Georgia overdrive. I'm passing little white lines and my eyes are open wide. Just past a Jimmy and a white, I've been passing everything in sight. 6 days on the road and I'm gonna...
There goes the alarm. The men slide down the pole. Much quicker than using the stairs. Hurry! Put on your coat, boots, and helmet. But this is a fireman's equipment.
Daddy, I'm afraid. Won't you stay a little while? Keep me safe, 'cause there's monsters right outside. Daddy, please don't go. I don't wanna be alone, 'cause the second that you're gone, they're gonna know. Before he went to bed, he grabbed my hand and said, just 'cause I'm leaving, it don't mean it. I won't be right by your side when you need me, when you can't see me in the middle of the night. Just close your eyes and say a prayer. It's okay, I know you're scared when I'm not here, but I'll always be right there. Even though I'm leaving, I ain't going nowhere.
TSN, this is the head coach for the Semi-Annual Ravens, Triple A team, like to call it back here. What do you think a chance to turn the tournament, Coach?
I think we've got a very good chance. Boys had a good skate this morning. I think after a game tonight, they'll be ready to go tomorrow.
And who are you playing tonight?
In the Peterborough Nationals tonight. And I think we're going to be in for a tough game, but I think the boys will pull through.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much, Coach. We'll get back to the game now.
Thanks.
Some kind of magic happens late at night when the moon smiles down at me and bathes me in its light. I fell asleep beneath you in the tall blades of grass. When I woke, the world was new. I never had to ask. It's a brand new day. The sun is shining. It's a brand new day. For the first time in such a long, long time, I know I'll be okay.
I like the dark better. I'd like to invite Surrey's Fire's Chief, Larry Thomas, to the stage.
Wow. It's a great honor and privilege to be here today, but it is with heavy hearts that we all celebrate Brian's life. It is a sad fact that yet another firefighter, co-worker, and friend has lost a battle with a recognized occupational cancer, one connected to firefighting. Brian loved his career in the fire service, as we've heard, being a firefighter, training officer, and a captain. In his 29th year of service, he was promoted to an assistant chief and spent 6 years in that role until he retired in 2017. During that time, around 2016, when there were several vacancies on the administration team, Brian also had the great privilege to be known as the assistant chief of everything. This was a time when his schedule was adjusted from a 4-day week to a 5-day week, and he had operational oversight over all the battalion chiefs and all the captains in the department. This workload was a complete stretch of anyone's capacity. It was hard work, but I can tell you that Brian was a consummate professional. He was an incredibly reliable teammate and did everything possible to ensure that the fire department kept running smoothly. There were many challenges, but there were no complaints, just a can-do attitude. Recently, I've heard stories from different staff about Brian as a captain, about how he would take care of his crew, but also ensured that they looked professional and that they were well prepared for whatever emergencies they would need to deal with. His crew appreciated that he set the high bar and instilled the pride that comes with being part of a high-performing professional team. It is that leadership, teamwork, dedication, and loyalty for the betterment of the fire service that I'll remember most about Brian's professional career. However, there is so much more, as we've heard. Brian was a hockey player, a water skier, a husband, a father, a coach, a leader, a meticulous individual, and a loyal friend to so many. I'm going to share a couple of personal stories about my friendship with Brian. Brian was strongly connected to hockey his entire life, as we've heard. He was a competitive player in junior hockey. He coached his sons. He coached firefighters, and he continued to maintain relationships within the hockey world and helped teach hockey and skating skills to students for many, many years. As a youth, I loved watching Hockey Night in Canada, but never had the opportunity to play in an organized minor hockey association. I had what I refer to as public skating skills. Those were learned from field trips to the rink during school or weekend public skating. And these are the kind of skills where you skate one way in a circle, around the rink, maybe holding hands with a girl, but there was no skating backwards or any kind of power crossovers. The Surrey Firefighters Athletic Committee organized drop-in hockey with goalies every Friday at the old North Surrey Arena. As a junior firefighter in 1990, I was encouraged to come out and play because they always needed enough skaters for 2 teams. Several firefighters gave me some hand-me-down equipment, and I went out and bought some skates, a stick, and a helmet. After falling down a lot, I realized I needed better elbow pads, better shoulder pads, and hockey pants. So I started to arrive early at drop-in and go out on the ice and try to work on my skating, doing left and right crossovers and trying to go from forward to backward transitions, etc.
Brian was also a regular at drop-in, and I would see him always snapping pucks into the top corners and going bar down during the warm-up. He had really good hands, and we relied on him to score goals in the fire department Monday Hockey League and in the various tournaments. One day Brian came and said, "Lars, it looks like you need some help." I said, "Yes." He gave me a few power skating drills to work on, and then showed me how to transition from skating forward to backward while doing a crossover at the same time in order to help me keep my speed up. What a difference that made to my skating ability over time. It allowed me to be more of a two-way skater and contributor, and I'll be forever grateful for Brian for helping me out with that. I did graduate from drop-in hockey and did play in Monday Fire Department League for a few years, and albeit I played on the C and D division teams, but it was all thanks to Brian's assistance. In 1993, Surrey Fire was going to have a large number of participants attending the World Police and Fire Games in Colorado Springs. I signed up to play on the hockey team, and because only 16 signed up, I was one of the firefighters who made the team. I was clearly the weakest link on the team, and I don't know whether the coaches made the decision on who was on the lines or if it was a lottery on which line got me on with them. But I ended up playing left wing on Brian's line. Before our first game, Brian said, "Lars, stay in your lane. Don't let the D-man jump by you on defense. And if we get the puck in the offensive end, just go to the side of the net and keep your stick on the ice. We'll set you up." So our team played a total of 3 games in that tournament. First one was against Metro Montreal, who was a good team. Second one was against Team Finland, who was a really good team. And then a firefighter team from an American city. It might have been Chicago. I believe our Surrey Fire team scored a total of 5 goals that tournament and didn't win a game. However, Larry Leftwing got one of our team's goals. Brian made a low shot off the goalie's pads, and the rebound went right to me at the side of the net with my stick on the ice, and I had a tap-in goal. That was Brian as a coach and a friend, figuring out the best place for me on the ice, and then delivering on the plan to set me up for a goal. A great example of how Brian made those around him so much better. During Brian's battle with cancer, we would communicate regularly. We would talk about the Canucks and use hockey metaphors to talk about his treatments, or as he'd like to refer to them, as his shifts. Brian always maintained a positive frame of mind and took each challenge in stride. It was like a new hockey game against a different team with every step. While I will always remember those talks with Brian and some of the work stories, my fondest memories include vacationing in Maui in the fall of 2018. Brian and Rhonda and Heather and I, we went out to different beaches every day to sit in the sun and go snorkeling, and then we'd go out for dinners every evening. We had so much fun hanging out in the lineup at Star Noodle while having a bevy, or watching the turtles come out of the sea during sunset at Hukapaw Beach before going to Paella Flatbread for a pie. Brian brought so much joy to so many people. On behalf of the Surrey Fire Department and his friend, my thoughts and support are with Rhonda, Chad, Bryn and Mika, Joel, Eugenia, and Carol, and all of Brian's extended family and friends. He is missed. Thank you.
These guys look great. Just got a little business to take care of here. There's a firefighter's prayer in the last alarm right there. This is the meaning. The ringing of the bell and the firefighter's prayer are two traditions of the fire service, which reflect respect honor, and to those who gave their lives to their duty. The ringing of the bell represents the end of an emergency and the return to quarters. And so, to those who have selfishly given their lives for the good of their fellow man, their tasks completed, their duties well done, to our comrades, their last alarm, they are going home. At this time, I'd like to invite Lorne West up. Lorne is the IAFF Vice President, 6th District Emeritus.
Hey. I'm glad it's dark out there so I can't see you guys. When Joel called to tell me the news of Brian's diagnosis, the memories and all the fun we had rushed to mind. He brought such a spirit of fun to everything he did. It came as no surprise the way he handled the challenging surgery and the treatment with dignity, poise, and courage. He said it's because he was lucky he married a great nurse and how Rhonda and the boys were his strength. We first met about 45 years ago. Actually, we met two Brians, Hoagie and Woz. Quite the tag team. They were so different, but so very much one as volunteer firefighters and then as the junior recruits of 1982. Woz barely 21 years old. Did he have a wisdom beyond his age? Maybe. But he was 21 and still full of piss and vinegar. To be a friend with Woz, you were a friend for life. Locally here, thousands of kilometers away in Aurora, Colorado, halfway around the world in the Netherlands. Nigel and Petrol will tell you about that. The community's image of a firefighter may be a little exaggerated for some of us. Few lived up to that expectation. Woz was one who did. His moral compass was an inspiration. And for me, he was that inspiration when I needed it most. In true Woz fashion, he would respond to that suggestion by simply insisting that I was his inspiration. He was humble, giving, and never accepting of the praise and the respect, and just always giving it to others. Of course, he could be very mischievous. And Hoagie and Woz together was mischief on a whole nother level. He no doubt would prefer us to keep things humble and brief. And I'm sure Hoagie would agree. Yes. We've no need to talk about the broken glasses at the Dell, the fracas at the Wooden Barrel or Madigan's, the lively nights following our union meetings. So I won't. But I do want to remember the person he was. It was tough on rookies in those days, and maybe I was a little tougher on Woz because he was a friend. And he handled it so well, to a point. But he made it very clear to me and put me on notice there was a line I better not cross again. Few rookies could pull that off, but he did it, because right away afterwards, he was humble, rookie, and best friend again, and just being best rookie he could be. He got over things, and he moved on. The team was more important than any personal issues that might get under his skin. Our annual ski trips up to Big White were endless fun. Packed, a dance floor packed, a young woman asks Woz out to the dance floor. A couple of songs in, she thought she was getting somewhere with this handsome guy. Woz, with an impish grin, falls to the floor, writhing about. Totally lost, she just kept dancing, staring, wonder what she should do. Woz, with that impish grin getting ever grinner and giggling, kept writhing on his back on the floor, and then shouted,
Do the worm. She was nowhere to be seen when the night ended. Back at YVR, falling onto the luggage carousel, doing the worm, and the rest of the passengers weren't very impressed as their luggage bounced off him on the way around. I was not a skater, was insisted. One night he showed up at work with a hockey bag full of gear and skates, and he said, drop-ins in the morning. I never did graduate off the D team. I reciprocated with water skiing. Summers in Osoyoos, at Lake Whatcom, working on our slalom course skills. But we did have some fun at his expense, for a change. When he would round balls 2, 4, and 6, out would blow his cheek like he's blowing up a great big balloon. Never his right cheek, and never when he went on a right-hand turn. When I showed him the photos later, he said that was his Michael Jordan move. Water skiing culminated for him in a medal in Calgary in 1997. When Brian left for vacation, I'd usually get a call about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Hi, it's Woz. How's it going? What, are you up? Oh, did I wake you? And then he would giggle and hang up and say, see you soon. I got my payback when I left the job to backpack for 6 months. After about my 3rd or 4th call, Woz says, can we have a truce? He was very quick to offer to house sit while I was away, and I'm sure it had nothing to do with him still living at home, cramping his style a little bit. He had a different girlfriend when I got back than when I left, and I met Carol. And she told me the first time I met her that she's coming to visit Brian, only to find him cleaning the house naked. He said he started in the shower and just couldn't stop cleaning. My house was clean. I know it was. But if you know it was, that house was never more spotless, clean, and organized after Woz lived in it for 6 months. Brian was a firefighter's role model, an amazing human being. When he asked, how are you? He meant it. He was sincere. He cared. He understood life wasn't about material things. They were about friends, family, and the relationships we build. His legacy is significant, but never more so than what lives on in Chad and Joel, and for bringing Rhonda into our lives. I'm sure no one needs to tell you guys you got big shoes to fill. And Brian knew damn well you would do it good. Not just anyone could have become Brian's partner. We all know how fussy and very particular he can be. But he found a great one in Rhonda, one he cherished. I'm so fortunate to have him as a friend. The firefighter prayer. When I'm called to duty, God, whenever flames may rage, give me the strength to save some life, whatever be its age. Help me to embrace the little child before it's too late. Enable me to be alert and hear the weakest shout, to quickly and efficiently put the fire out, to guard my neighbor and protect his property, and if according to your will, I have to lose my life, please bless with your protecting hand my children and my wife.
Presentations to the family from the fire department at this time.
This is kind of touching for me. I'm 85 and I've just been given word that I only have 2 years to go. So it's pretty touching.
amazing musical tribute. This concludes today's celebration for Brian Woznikoski and the family. The family and the Surrey Firefighters would like to invite you to the reception in the foyer. At this time, please be seated until the family is escorted out, and then the ushers will escort you out. Thank you.